The person limiting you is yourself, so go out there and grab it.
Ain't nothing in the world like you. When I see your light shining on me, makes my day go easily. You're the song going round in my head. You're the words and the melody I just can't forget. Like the day that we first met. So hold me now, won't ever let you go. Lights up and down, but I say you're so worth it. You're the only one it takes to know what love is. You're so worth it. There's not any part of me would want to let you go.
Oke mai anō, ko rero te manu araki o te arawa a tā Toby Curtis. Te ao Māori is mourning the death of a humble leader and devoted champion of education, Sir Toby Curtis. He spent most of his 83 years imparting his knowledge and challenging the Crown to improve the lives of his people. Māori Affairs reporter Te Anawahuri Hanganui looks back at his life.
This is what mattered most to Sir Toby Curtis, the next generation.
Me mahi anō we rā mahi, hei whakakori anō te tinana, kia pai te oro te.
Devoting his life to improving their lives through education.
The concerns that are affecting Māori people and the people of minority cultures.
He fought throughout his lifetime to raise the importance of our culture, of our reo.
The former Hato Petera principal later became the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of AUT. He was an agitator, unafraid to challenge the government on Māori education.
There's nothing wrong with the state school apart from the fact they've held Māori for 178 years.
Or the Rotorua Lakes Council on co-governance.
It is the work of a younger group of Māori leaders who will take Taurawa and our district into the future.
He oversaw the governance of Te Arawa's 14 lakes for 16 years, a right he helped secure through settlement.
That was an impossible dream. Now it's a dream come true.
He was a whānau man who loved his kids.
He brought them up in the world, both worlds of Te Ao Māori and Te Ao Pākehā.
He was always clear that the knowledge that he had gained, the skills that he had, were there to provide benefit for his people.
And he was funny.
Can we just get you to introduce yourself first?
Why?
Mic check.
A man of mana who lie in state at Ake Ao Marae before his final farewell. Nō reira, kei te manu ariki, e rere ki tō rahi i te pō. Te Anawahuri Hanganui, One News.
Prominent critic of Donald Trump, Liz Cheney, has lost her seat in Congress after the former president urged supporters to back a rival. Cheney was the vice chair of the panel investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol and one of 10 Republicans who voted to impeach the former president. In retaliation, Trump called on Wyoming Republicans to shift their primary votes to her opponent, Harriet Hageman. Cheney says she will remain a staunch critic of the former president. Well, it's taken nearly 50 years, but a Native American actress who was booed off stage at the Oscars has received an apology from the Academy. Sacheen Littlefeather was asked by Marlon Brando to decline his Best Actor Oscar for The Godfather in protest at the film industry's portrayal of Indigenous people. The BBC's Lizo Mimzimba has more.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
When he won the Oscar for The Godfather, Marlon Brando refused to attend the ceremony.
Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
Instead, sending a Native American activist and actress.
Accepting the award for Marlon Brando in The Godfather, Miss Sacheen Littlefeather.
Very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award. And the reasons for this being are the treatment of American Indians today by the film industry,
Her words highlighting Hollywood's almost universally negative depiction of Native Americans were greeted with both applause and boos. She said before that one of those opposing her comments was Hollywood's biggest star, famous for his roles fighting Native Americans.
John Wayne was very angry.
I don't like it, Mr. Cohill. I don't like it at all.
How dare I do something like that on his stage? He was going to come on the stage and pull me off, so he had to be physically restrained.
She subsequently suffered abuse. Her acting career was damaged too. The body behind the Oscars says it's making amends, including through how its new museum reflects movie history. In a statement, Sacheen says, "Regarding the Academy's apology to me, we Indians are very patient people. It's only been 50 years. It's profoundly heartening to see how much has changed since I did not accept the Academy Award 50 years ago."
I beg at this time that I have not intruded upon this evening.
Now, after half a century, she and so many Native Americans feel a notorious injustice has finally been righted.
Thank you on behalf of Marlon Brando.
The Academy has also announced a special event with Sacheen Littlefeather to discuss the treatment of Indigenous people. E Whākine coming up, they're an untapped pool of workers who could help our job crisis. So how can more businesses adapt to take on disabled employees? And will this be enough to lure tourists back?
Know not to stand on his summit, and those who have walked this valley and seen his face lit by the morning sun, they understand.
We'll have a look at Tourism New Zealand's latest global pitch.
And then at 7, cheap meat. Is it all created equal, or do some cuts rank above the rest? Plus the Air Cadets making a difference in the community, and now they need your help.
And the music camp for adults that's hiding in plain sight. It's coming up at 7.
Now, fart jokes, what do you think? No, I think they're pretty cheap, immature and puerile and low-hanging fruit. Perfect for our show and myself. The Masters Snookers final from Alexander Palace was interrupted by some suspicious noises.
There was a clever little shot plant.
That's enough. Can you stop that now, please?
They didn't, and the farts kept coming, and they were loud and proud rather than silent but violent.
Played to the back one. And
the same thing as the other day.
Seems to be a problem at the minute in the auditorium.
The first to know was the first to blow rule doesn't apply in snooker. The hunt was on to find the flatulent fan.
I think it might be someone with a whoopee cushion. Can you believe it? That's all we need, but if they find him, he's gone.
Yeah, someone's planted it somewhere.
Finally, snooker's interesting. Luckily for everyone, it was a whoopee cushion, and the prankster was located and shucked out.
Oh, disappointing.
Not very funny at all. Whoever thought of that idea?
Found him. I was disappointed it wasn't real farts, actually. That was kind of a bit of a letdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay,
Whoopee
that's us.
cushions still exist, so you can buy them.
Oh.
That's great.
Kia ora anō. Disabled Kiwis remain a largely untapped labour resource despite a nationwide worker shortage. New figures show their unemployment rate is almost 2.5 times that of the general population. As Laura James reports, advocates say businesses need to change their attitudes.
2 months into her new job, and Eilish Sinclair just keeps learning.
Kind of call it like a video game. You learn the first level, and once you learn the first level, you move to the next level.
She loves what she does with the Warehouse Group, but it took persistence to get here.
I ended up applying for 80 jobs. It's been a struggle, but I feel very grateful and feel like I've won the lottery with this job. So.
She's among 106 Kiwis employed through an Autism New Zealand program over 7 years.
We actually have 3 people who have recruited through Autism New Zealand in our team. They all seem really happy with their roles, and we're really happy with them.
But 7.9% of disabled New Zealanders remain unemployed, down from 9.6% last year.
That is a declining trend, as we've seen in the series, since it started in 2017.
But it's important to look at how it compares to the unemployment rate for non-disabled Kiwis, which is 3.3%. The gap between the figures closing slightly from 5.6% in 2021 to 4.6% this year.
The biggest barrier is the unconscious bias and the myths that employers hold.
Because there is an initial barrier for them getting into the workplace, that potential is not realised.
New Zealand Police is finding a way to change that.
There's a significant number of neurodiverse individuals who are highly capable, highly skilled, and are not actually able to navigate the standard recruitment process.
A new pilot will see 3 neurodiverse Kiwis employed in their financial crime team by October.
And I really hope that it kickstarts a number of other initiatives in other workplaces.
With Eilish just one example.
I've learnt a lot.
Proving that it's worth it. Laura James, One News.
This time last year, we were preparing to start our longest lockdown, plunging the tourism industry into the doldrums. Now a fresh push is underway to lure overseas tourists back this summer. Here's Tessa Parker.
For 2 summers, only New Zealanders have been able to enjoy this site. But this summer, tourist operators can't wait to show it off to foreign visitors too.
We're really excited. It's bound to be the busiest we've been in 3 years. Or 2.5 years, so we're just ready to roll up our sleeves and get into it.
Before the pandemic, 80% of Cathedral Cove Kayak Tours clients were from overseas. When New Zealand shut its borders, the tourism sector went from being worth $41 billion to our economy to only $26 billion in 2021.
We've gone from being, really busy and with a good team and a full book of reservations to just nothing.
Obviously, it's been brutal the last 2.5 years.
When you earn the trust of Kaikoura's curious dusky dolphin.
So today, Tourism New Zealand is launching a global campaign teasing the sights and sounds of Aotearoa.
Is what it sees.
To bring international tourists back, but also to urge Kiwis to keep exploring our backyard.
The resilience of the sector will be built on New Zealanders getting out and about.
They want to go and connect with those loved ones. They want to go and see some new adventures, and also just to get out of the country as well after such a long period of being locked down.
The pandemic's forced the tourism industry to reimagine what it looks like, and part of that is making it attractive to foreigners and locals.
We know that if we're delivering for Kiwis, then all our international friends are just going to fall over themselves to be here.
Operators now hopeful the summer will bring much needed relief.
Our boats are clean, our beaches are empty, we're just ready to go kayaking and show the place off.
Showing off the old sites.
There's any living thing.
And tourism operators promising there'll be new experiences for all to enjoy this summer too. Tessa Parker, One News.
Time for sport with Chris, and you've got more on the All Blacks backing of Ian Foster.
Yes, finally some clarity for all involved, but there were still plenty of questions for the New Zealand Rugby Chief Executive this afternoon, including whether Scott Robertson was placed on standby at any point and whether things got heated between players and the CEO. We'll have more on that next. Plus, the junior football Ferns go down fighting with a couple of sensational goals, while Auckland City are back in the lucrative FIFA Club World Cup.
And the tropical pipeline of rain hitting parts of the country will continue as we head into Thursday, but there are some subtle hints of change to the relentless weather pattern sitting over the country. Watch out though, Thursday there is more heavy rain to spread from much of the country, particularly the North Island. A month's worth of rain or more likely in places, with a flash flooding potential too. What you need to know after sport.
we go drifting out to sea, making memories. Your heart is all I need. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Won't you follow me? Follow me. Won't you follow me?
Kia ora, welcome to Sport. Ian Foster will remain as All Blacks coach until next year's World Cup. The NZR board has made a, quote, unanimous decision to back Foster through to the end of next year, but with more coaching tweaks, including a more hands-on role for Joe Schmidt. The decision leaves Crusaders coach Scott Robertson and his international aspirations in limbo again. Andrew Saville was at today's announcement.
The faces this afternoon at NZR suggested bad news for Ian Foster, but quite the opposite.
Delighted to get the strong support from both Robbo and the board for us going forward.
Foster met with NZR chief Mark Robinson yesterday, clearly doing enough to convince Robinson and then the NZR board that he's the man for the job through to the World Cup. Did Foster feel like he was hung out to dry over the past few weeks?
Oh, I don't think I was hung out to dry. I think there's a whole lot of variables out there where some of it was pretty well self-inflicted because the team that I was coaching didn't get a couple of wins that we wanted.
One change does see former Irish boss Joe Schmidt take more of a hands-on coaching role. So was Scott Robertson placed on standby before that test victory last weekend?
No, I mean, there are always conversations going on with our leading staff and key people right across the board.
Senior players made their thoughts clear over Foster's retention. So did they bail up Mark Robinson after the victory in Johannesburg?
Oh, we had a really cool catch-up, Steve. Yeah, so it wasn't heated at all.
So there's no gulf between the players and NZR officials?
Yeah, I've seen that. I think it was speculated elsewhere, Sav. But you know, like I say, having been with them for the last week or 10 days with our president Max Spence, you know. It's been great. We acknowledge we haven't got anything right. So I don't think we're hiding from that, Sev.
The reconfirmed coach, well aware this decision won't please all in rugby.
I haven't got a problem with that, and I don't think people should have a problem if they see things different to what I do. What will I say on Sunday is, "Hi guys, I'm back. Let's get into it."
The All Blacks reassemble in Christchurch on Sunday. It appears they can move on. Andrew Saville, One News.
For the 10th time in their history, Auckland City are heading to the FIFA Club World Cup. Today's win in the Oceania Champions League final, continuing an impressive record for the side, having not dropped a single game all year. Zion Dale was sidelined at the near $1 million match.
After 5 years, Auckland City are back on top. The boys from Tamaki Makaurau celebrating a 3-0 Oceania Champions League final win over Tahitian side IS Venus.
The most special one, to be honest. It's been a long time without winning it. So very proud of the lads. They gave everything.
All Whites coach Danny Hay watching on.
And it's 1-0. Cam Howison with a great penalty to the corner.
As City wrapped up the title, making it 29 matches unbeaten in all competitions this year.
It's had a very good game. There's a lovely ball into Tade. And Emiliano Tade.
I think winning an international tournament after so many years as well is a pretty good feeling. Over time, regardless how many times you win it, it's something that you can't explain, you know?
A 2-year COVID hiatus forcing the Pacific's best club sides to go without any competition between each other.
Lack of competition has maybe dropped the standard across the board, and definitely in New Zealand the standard has dropped.
The tournament centralised in Auckland, 8 teams playing over 2 weeks. 2014, City's most memorable year, finishing 3rd.
To have a club team from New Zealand at a World Cup is a massive feat, and for these guys there to go up and play against some top players
players from around the world is an incredible dream come true for them.
You know, we could be coming up against Real Madrid if we do well enough. Like, how many people can say they've done that before?
Over $750,000 making their return that much sweeter. The celebrations going no further than the changing rooms this afternoon. City turning their attention to a Chatham Cup semi-final on Sunday. Zion Dale, One News.
The junior football Ferns may be heading home from the Under-20 World Cup after today's draw with Colombia, but 4 goals of the highest quality made it a spectacle worthy of the stage. And it should give New Zealand football hope that it can solve a major issue before next year's FIFA Women's World Cup here. Starting with the goalkeeper and playing comfortably out and across the pitch. There were just 2 minutes on the clock when the young football Ferns dissected the Colombians.
Brazil-Costa Rica fixture. That's nicely done. Can she score the first? She can. What a super take.
16-year-old Millie Clegg finishing the move with some individual brilliance.
Delightful finish.
Scoring goals has been a glaring problem for the senior football Ferns. They've bagged just 2 in the last 7 matches. Here in Costa Rica, the under-20s showed the quality required. But it wasn't just the Kiwis.
New Zealand have done that again. They're level. They've got the goal they craved.
Linda Casado's first a beauty. The second, when her team was down to 10 players, bamboozling.
Oh, brilliant from Casado. Can she finish here for a second time in the match? It's Casado. It's glorious.
Speaking of glorious...
Win it. And that's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's into the net. It's a remarkable equalising goal here for New Zealand from the substitute Lancaster.
A draw not enough to advance out of the group, but perhaps a blueprint for future successes.
We're aggressive, we press high, the girls are creative when they play with freedom, and I think there's some really special players in this group, and this won't be the last of them, so we're excited to see what they do after this.
For some of them, that could be next year's big showpiece, a Senior World Cup on home soil. It was a true changing of the tennis guard. Serena Williams' second stop on her farewell tour has been a short one, knocked out of the Cincinnati Open in straight sets by Emma Raducanu, 21 years her junior. Michelle Prendeville has the action.
This may be the last time we see Serena Williams outside of a Grand Slam tournament, but even though the curtain is falling on her stellar career, she still commands centre stage.
Even when you guys were cheering for her, I was like, you know what, all for it.
Because for teenagers like Emma Raducanu, Serena is their idol. 21 years separating the current US Open champion and the 23-time Grand Slam legend, a battle of the generations.
Smart again.
That sometimes flew past in a second.
Game and first set, Raducanu.
To be honest, was nervous from the first point to the last point. Maybe it didn't look like that, but when you're playing such a champion like her, you never know when she's gonna just blow you off the court.
But with every power play Williams came up with, the Brit came back twice as hard. Raducanu hitting a total of 14 winners with just one unforced error, dominating the second set by a whopping 6-love.
This has got to be written almost, to be able to play the greatest of all time. Like, this is a complete gift, so just make the most out of it. In your rest of your career, you're going to remember playing Serena Williams.
Not just playing, but beating the tennis goat. Certainly hard to forget. Michelle Prendeville, One News.
Well, the future of tennis in good hands, but still sad to see Serena on her way out. She's got, obviously, US Open left, and hopefully she can pull out a few more games there.
Yeah, it's still good to see her on court. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. See you soon. That's it for sport, and stay with us, because Dan says there is more significant heavy rain on the way for many of us. He'll have the details next.
And then at 7, everyone's looking to save money on their food bill, how to make the most of those cheap cuts.
Plus, if you're harbouring a secret desire to be a better musician, have we got the place for you? We'll see you shortly at 7.
Kia ora, welcome along to the Met Service Pacific weather update for today, Wednesday the 17th of August. We'll start off by taking a look at the satellite picture. You can see quite nicely a band of cloud dragging that air right the way down from, say, the likes of the Coral Sea, right the way down towards Norfolk Island and right the way down towards New Zealand. It's a very warm, moist air mass that's taken a lot of that warm temperatures, or taking a lot of those warm temperatures down towards the likes of New Zealand, and also bringing some fairly unsettled weather towards places like New Caledonia and also Norfolk Island. Now, that's not moving very far or very fast. You may notice over the last couple of days it sits pretty much in situ, and the reason why, big old area of high pressure out towards the east of New Zealand. To the north of that, some pretty strong southeasterly winds, easterly winds up towards the likes of, say, Niue, bringing with them some higher seas. Worth keeping that in mind around the coastal parts, also making it feel a little bit cooler, but it is just a block-in feature. It stops the progression of these fronts moving much further towards the east over the next couple of days. That really means that our weather is pretty static as well. Where we find the places beneath that area of cloud and wet weather, places like Norfolk Island across towards Noumea and New Caledonia, up towards Vanuatu, it's going to stay pretty cloudy and also pretty showery as well over the next few days. 1 or 2 heavier falls to watch out for, and some fairly blustery winds as well. Head a little bit further out towards the east. We're going to be beneath that area of high pressure, but right on the edge of it, and that brings a really good, strong easterly wind up through the likes of, say, the Cook Islands, up towards the likes of Samoa, and even up in towards Fiji as well, bringing with them a fair number of showers. They'll move through fairly quickly. There could be some fairly heavy ones, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder for the likes of Nandi as we head through in towards the afternoon, or more especially the evening time. The other thing to bear in mind, some cooler feeling temperatures as well, especially beneath in that wind as well. It's going to feel much cooler for the likes of, say, Rarotonga as we head through the next few days. Highs there around about 21 degrees Celsius, and our nighttime temperatures dipping back down into the high teens. As we head through in towards Friday at the end of the week, there's no great changes as we go through there. You can see things generally are looking pretty similar. The high pressure is pretty much still with us. It blocks the progression of this front coming across much further. You might find a touch more clearance out towards Vanuatu, perhaps a little bit more sunshine pushing through there, but I think that front's not far away. Another pretty cloudy day down towards Norfolk Island, and we'll keep hold of those stronger winds across most of these areas, and we'll find still more showers to come towards the end of the week. That's it from me, but don't forget to keep up to date with your latest forecast from all your local Met centres.
Ain't nothing in the world like you. When I see your light shining on me, makes my day go easily. You're the song going round in my head. You're the words and the melody I just can't forget. Like the day that we first met. So hold me now, won't ever let you go. Life's up and down, but I say you're so worth it. You're the only one it takes to know what love is. You're so worth it. There's not any part of me would want to let you go. We go drifting out to sea, making memories. Your heart is all I need. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Won't you follow me? Follow me. Won't you follow me?
Hello. Thursday brings some more nasty, pretty intense rain, all down to the same weather system, the slow-moving, stuck weather system, the blocking high sitting off to the east, and the pipeline of cloud, the rain coming from the tropics. And when we talk about tropical moisture, you've seen some of the staggering rainfall, some of the images and some of the rainfall amounts, but tropical moisture is different. This, of course, is what we call precipitable water. Not to get too technical, but that orangey stuff up there, that's lots and lots of moisture in the tropics. Notice how some of the orange blobs are heading all the way down to New Zealand. So when the rain comes, it rains very heavily, very very quickly. That's why some parts of the country we've seen as much as 20, 30 millimetres of rain in an hour. Take, for instance, Collingwood, for instance, 166 millimetres of rain there through the day as this has been piling its way. And lots more watches and warnings. The red ones to take note for the extreme weather. Of course, parts of Nelson, Buller and also Westland. This lump of blue here is the next surge of heavy, persistent rain. It does have tropical moisture in it, so heads up going through the night for more rain picking up in intensity, and then where that darker area is, going into the early hours for the upper South Island in particular and the West Coast. See right there? That'll track south. Southern parts of the South Island, you've had a quiet day, you get some wet weather tomorrow. And then notice tomorrow how this zone of pipeline of rain was sitting west of the North Island. Boom, it spreads in. Auckland through the night, right the way to much of the North Island. Occasional rain further east. You're thinking, when is it going to end? It will start to end. A breather coming on Friday, and by the weekend it's more westerly, which means it's passing fronts, but we will get there. Hang in there. This is rain. Heavy, persistent, strong to severe gales over much of Northland. Rain warning here. 100 to 200 millimetres of rain is possible here through the day, so watch for some local flooding. Auckland as well, rain warning for you through the day into early Friday. 100 to 200 millimetres of rain in places. 18 degrees. It's going to be a wild one. Bear it in mind. Hamilton too, you've got rain heavy at times with those strong northerlies. Now to the Bay of Plenty, Central Plateau. Rain on the map just shows you what it's like. It's rain heavy at times. Rain watches or warnings in place all the way down to the Central Plateau, and similar as well for Tauranga. 18 degrees. It's a yucky, rainy sort of day. Strong winds. But going further east, of course, getting the rangers there to give you a bit of shelter. The rain that comes across is more occasional rain, pretty mild one, 19 degrees. And if you can believe it, today, top temperature for the country, 23 degrees, 23, Hanmer Springs. This is further west from New Plymouth down to Levin. Same thing, rain heavy at times here. Strong gusty northerlies. Strong old winds in Wellington. Rain is with you at times. Heavy 16 degrees is where you finish. Now, let's get to Te Waipunamu. In particular, parts of Nelson. Heavy persistent rain in the morning. Do bear that in mind, that rain warning there, the red one, and also for Westport. You're thinking, when will it end? Going to midnight tomorrow night, that's when we lose the heaviest, intense stuff, but it'll be a rough, what is it going to be, sort of 18 to 24 hours in place. 14 degrees for Christchurch. Rain more likely in the morning, easing back to some showers as the series of fronts slide themselves through. Heavy persistent rain, that rain warning there, Greymouth, Hokitika, through the course of the day. Same sort of thing, easing by the end of the day. East Coast showers themselves easing. And for Queenstown, you've got spells of rain as it spreads its way south, 13 degrees, and into the far south. Lovely conditions today. Different story for you. You've got spells of rain that will work its way south on that warm front. Rain here in a few places could be heavy at times. Rain persistent in Dunedin in the morning, easing to showers into the afternoon, and 14 degrees. Friday, rain for the North Island. That slips down to the upper South Island. Bear it in mind, another thing, further south we are drier. Then we finally start to push this thing through and away on Saturday. With the flow going that way, we get back to normal, but of course there'll be so much rain. Do bear it in mind, and watch tonight for some of those rising river levels as we go through. So another rough 24 hours to come.
Yeah, we've got to hang tight. Tino pai. Thanks, Stan. That's it from the One News team. Here's Hilary and Jeremy with 7 Sharp.
Thanks very much, Melissa. It was exactly a year ago that we went into what would be the longest lockdown of the pandemic. The government said it would be short and sharp, but it wasn't.
For a lot of people, it's a time they'd rather not remember. So what did it achieve? And has it put us on a good footing to recover? This time a year ago, we had no idea what was ahead of us. The short and sharp lockdown dragged on for 107 days.
We're heading to Hilary's house right now. What on earth is going on?
I'm determined not to get depressed about this, even though I've got to self-isolate because I was at an event. I have been deemed as a close contact. I've been baking all morning for Formal Friday, and I had your cake. Look, this is the cake that I brought you, but I couldn't even leave it because I touched it.
Weeks later, and still locked down. I will send you a chocolate fish to every New Zealander who goes out tonight and has their first jab. Hundreds of our viewers took the bait. And so did Jeremy.
Daddy is bringing home the fish today.
76 days into lockdown, the cracks were starting to show. Everyone outside of Auckland and Waikato is going, you know, has it really been 76 days? Yes, it has! We're not losing it, not at all. Epidemiologist Rod Jackson, a regular face, with one hell of a shirt collection. Rod, great T-shirt collection.
You like that? The most important thing you could do, and probably the most uplifting thing you can do, is go and get vaccinated.
100 long and blurry days later.
Happy 100 days. Absolutely. Hit the music, Shaz.
Like you, we tried to make the best of it. But what did we achieve by locking down for so long?
And Professor Rod Jackson is back to tell us. Good to see you again, Rod. So was it worth it spending 107 days in lockdown?
Yeah, absolutely. There would have been a lot of deaths if we hadn't gone into lockdown. We just weren't ready. Most people would have had a really bad time with Delta. Delta was worse in terms of its severity, so we would have been in a really bad situation if we hadn't gone into lockdown.
Rob, we haven't seen a new variant for some time. Is that good news?
Oh, look, it's good news because the thing that keeps me awake at night is the next variant. And what we know about the next variant, if it comes, is it's going to be more contagious than Omicron. And that's really bad because Omicron is the fastest spreading virus in the history of humankind. And so the next one is going to be more contagious. And the big worry is it going to be more severe? Like, is it going to kill more people? And so the longer it stays away, the happier I am.
There are still some who haven't had it yet, you included, Rod. Does that mean they're unlikely to now?
Yeah. No, it's still, I mean, I'm less likely to get it in the next few months because it looks like this wave is going. But no, look, everyone is susceptible to getting infected. But unless we're vaccinated, we're also at high risk of getting more severe disease. So, so I'm still susceptible.
Are we ever going to see the back of COVID?
Look, I don't know, but I think if we are, it's going to be a brand new vaccine. What people are talking about and calling it the universal vaccine, the vaccine that actually stops every variant. There's lots of groups working on this at the moment in New Zealand, all over the world. So I think if we're going to get rid of it in the foreseeable future, it's going to be a new vaccine.
I'm just peeking between the buttons of your shirt there, Rod, and I can see the word the, not in that way, Harry. I can see the word the, which, oh, there we go, look, that's your new T-shirt.
He's got a new T-shirt.
There it is. Yeah, vax to the max. Look, the latest evidence that's coming out is that we need to have our immune systems as primed as possible. That seems to be the most important thing. We can't stop people getting infected, but we can certainly stop them getting severe disease and dying. And so if you're due your booster, go and get boosted now. I mean, it's something that every New Zealander who hasn't been boosted can go out and do now. Most important message that I can give you.
Thanks very much, Rod, and impressive whites as well on that T-shirt, obviously using nappy sand. All the best.
Okay, good.
ASB and 7 Sharp, keeping you one step ahead.
Another day, another OCR hike as the powers that be try to dodge a recession, and while groceries are costing more, many of the meat eaters among us are cutting back.
So if you're tired of tightening your belt at the butcher, stick around. Help is at hand.
We really do live in paradise. Aotearoa, land of the long white cloud. And on this land, we raise some of the finest animals you can eat. Take this one, for example. Doesn't it look delicious? Now, with all this kerfuffle over the cost of living, deliciousness isn't always affordable. So is it time for us to look outside of the costly lamb chop and the Spency sirloin steak and try some different cuts of meat?
And Reuben Sharples from Aussie Butchers in New Lynn is here now. Lovely to see you, Reuben. Now tell us, which cheap cuts of meat taste the best?
Like anything that's going to be like your sort of low and slows, like the lamb shoulder is sort of great. You can sort of put those in the slow cooker before you go to work, and that sort of breaks down and all the flavours come out of the meat and the fat. So,
is that the key to making, like, say, a cross-cut blade taste better, just doing it really, really slowly? don't go frying that on the fry pan.
Oh, I mean, you can brown it if you want to sort of brown it off, but no, definitely don't just fry it and have it as your steak. You want to sort of break that, put that in the slow cooker or your casserole dish, and that's just going to break down all the tenderness.
And Ruben, is it better to buy chicken pieces or a whole chicken?
You're always going to find chicken pieces on special, but if you buy the whole chicken, you're going to get multiple meals out of it. So you might be able to have your roast dinner and then sort of get all your bones and your fat from your leftovers and put it into the pot and make a nice stock for the vegetable soup the following night.
Oh, you're making me hungry, Ruben. Now, let's talk mince. That is often a good buy. But are there ways to make it even cheaper?
I would sort of say just by adding your Mexican beans or your chopped tomatoes. That's what we sort of do. We have a Mexican Mondays. We'll do nachos and things like that. So you can always extend it, whether it be lentils or chickpeas.
Yeah, and always good to hide the odd veggie in there too, I find.
Oh, that's quite good with young kids, yes. Now, Ruben, is there such a thing as a good, cheap sausage? Or if it's cheap, does that just mean it's stuffed with rubbish?
There's all different sort of ways. Like we sell, your cheapest sort of pre-cooks, which is just going to put protein on the table for families. There's many families that need those, and then it goes right through to your gourmet sausages, which you sort of up around that $20 mark, because all the ingredients are sort of fairly costly going into those. But there's always, there's different ones for different people.
Good on you, Ruben. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm hungry again now.
I know, me too. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Air Cadets, then hold tight. This is a teenage group pushing the limits. When they're not volunteering in the community, you'll find them involved in outdoor pursuits or even flying planes.
Now one Auckland squadron is facing an uncertain future and needs your help. Here's Lucas de Jong.
Regimented, clinical and clean cut. They're not your usual teenagers.
Some people like to say that we're New Zealand's best kept secret.
Left side, west! This is the Central Auckland Air Cadets.
2 paces, right side, west! Watch!
It's a youth organisation with an Air Force flavour. Initially it was part of the compulsory military training back in World War I and World War II. But it's definitely more of a youth organisation now rather than a direct feed into the Defence Force. Completely voluntary, they come along if they want to.
We have units. I'm from 3 Squadron here.